Welcome to my channel. I'm your host, and this are the 5 tracker stories. Our first story comes from Reddit user Golden Tate. When I was 17, I worked as a clerk at a truck stop near Oklahoma City. The particular part of the building where I worked was basically an afterthought to the main convenience store. We had 2 pumps and a small parking lot. Most of the traffic was semis using the diesel pumps. One night I was working alone and closing down shop around midnight. It was very slow and only a couple cars had stopped. Everything was closed except the restrooms and the little snack shack that had pizza bagels, slurp drinks and stale, pre-made sandwiches. A man came in and asked for a pack of smokes. I rang them up and they wandered off to the restrooms. About 10 minutes later, a different man came in and asked me to check the back room. He said his son was in there playing, and it was well past our closing time. I told him I'd check and proceeded to do so. The kid wasn't in there. I opened all the storage rooms. They were empty. I even looked under the counter. I told the father that his kid was in there, and he thanked me and paid for his stuff and left. A minute after they left, the son came out of the bathroom and stood by the door. He was smirking at me. His face was smeared with dirt. His hair was uncombed and tangled. He was missing a front tooth. He wasn't old enough to shave. At first, I thought nothing of it. I was more annoyed than anything. I told him he needed to leave because we were closed, and I didn't want to call the cops. He argued with me for a while, and I finally just told him to get in the car before I called his dad. He left angry and cursing, but I didn't think much of it. I assumed that his father would come back in and correct his behavior. An hour passed and things were quiet. I decided to clean up the lobby. To my surprise, I found that same young boy standing there watching me. He was breathing heavily and he hadn't spoken yet. I calmly told him again that he had to go home and to not come back until morning. He told me that he wasn't leaving and began picking up trash off the floor, still breathing heavily. I told him that he couldn't stay there and he threw the cup at me. I flinched and he screamed at me, "I'm not leaving." I called the police and waited for him to leave. By the time they arrived, the lobby was spotless and he was gone. I didn't see him for the rest of the night, but at 6 a.m., I came in to open up the store for the morning shift. The manager asked me why the lobby was so clean. I told him about the boy. He assumed that I was talking about a regular customer that liked to clean the place up every morning. My jaw dropped, and the manager went and checked the security cameras. The footage showed the boy walking around the store, rearranging everything. He moved stock, reorganized the shelves, and even dusted off the counters. He was there for hours, moving around like an employee. My manager fired me for letting him stay there. Apparently, the owner had gotten complaints about how dirty the store was, and he wanted someone else working during the overnight shift. I didn't care though, because I quit the next day. My boss called me to ask why I had quit. I told him what had happened and he apologized and offered to let me keep my job, but I didn't want it anymore. What the hell was that kid doing there? How did he get in? Why was he cleaning the store? I have no idea. Next, we have this story from another Reddit user. Back when I was in trucking, I used to run team drive with my cousin. This was my first year driving a truck, and I was staying with my cousin for a month between contracts. My cousin was a Vietnam vet and had seen some things. He taught me many lessons that helped keep me alive as a new trucker. He also warned me about certain places to avoid. One of those places was a rest stop along I-75 in Tennessee. We were about halfway through a run from Florida to Michigan. We stopped at this rest stop because we had to use the restroom. Once we pulled into the lot, I asked my cousin, "Are you sure we don't need to stop at this place?" He replied, "Nope, but let's be quick because I don't like this place." We both used the restroom and he bought a bottle of water. He drank some and splashed some on his face. Then he headed out to the truck, saying, "Let's get the hell out of here." We were pulling out of the lot when we both saw a man walking across the highway. He appeared to be drunk and was staggering around. My cousin slammed on the brakes and killed the engine. He looked at me and said, "We're not leaving." I asked, "Why not?" And he said, "We're not." I protested because I had to pee and we had to keep moving, but he refused to start the engine. After about 15 minutes, the man reached the south end of the parking lot and disappeared from view. My cousin continued to watch the spot where he disappeared. After another 15 minutes, we heard police sirens. My cousin said, "See? I told you we weren't leaving." We didn't move from that spot until the truck stop was empty. We then continued on our way to Michigan. A few miles later, we stopped at another truck stop to take a break and get some coffee. While we were in there, we learned that the man who staggered into the previous rest stop had stolen a truck and driven it into a ditch on the side of the highway. The police had arrested him and taken him to jail. Our next story comes from another Reddit user. When I was about 19 years old and starting out in my professional driving career, I was assigned to a trainer. He was an old veteran driver who had seen it all. So when he told me we had to stop at a specific rest stop, I trusted him. We pulled into the parking lot and I saw a pickup truck sitting there with a pair of muddy tires on the ground. The lot was deserted and the restaurant was closed. Despite the lack of customers, my trainer insisted that we stop there. I didn't want to, but he told me that there was a reason for it and that I'd see in a few minutes. He parked the truck and headed to the restroom while I sat there waiting. A few minutes later, he came out with a wide smile and said, "That'll show 'em." He was holding 2 brand new Michelin tires. I was confused. He explained that he'd been watching the truck with the flat tire and decided to stop and change it. I was amazed. It took us less than 20 minutes to get there, and the people in the truck were so grateful. He drove the rest of the way with us and told us how much he appreciated our help. We became friends and he even gave us some money for stopping to help. To this day, I wonder why my trainer insisted on stopping at that rest stop. If you enjoyed this episode, then check out part 3 of our Trucker Horror Stories series. And if you'd like to support the channel, then buy something from our store or become a patron where you get access to our exclusive podcast. Also, don't forget to follow us on social media. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.